Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. We are a non-commercial initiative of just two people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. My name is Artem and here is the news. For 334 days, Ukraine stands strong against the Russian invasion. In his evening video address, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky informed that fierce fighting continues in the main operational directions, particularly in Donbas. Enemy shelling offensives continue around the clock. However, the battle for Donbas continues. The battle for the south continues. We see what forces Russia is amassing and know how to respond, stressed Zelensky. He said that sometimes it seems that some people in the rare cities have completely forgotten about the war, but ignoring the war is a luxury that no one can afford. The president announced the decision of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine on officials traveling abroad. He emphasized that the Cabinet of Ministers will develop a border crossing procedure for officials so that only a real working trip can be a reason for border crossing. Earlier, a scandal erupted when the media released information that Deputy Prosecutor General Alexei Simonenko traveled to Spain for a 10-day vacation to celebrate the New Year with his family using the car of a private businessman, reports Ukrainska Pravda. During martial law, Ukrainian men fit for service are generally forbidden from crossing Ukraine's borders, with rare exceptions for state and humanitarian purposes. According to the media, after Simonenko's vacation became public, he was asked to write a resignation letter, which he did. Volodymyr Zelensky said that another decision of the National Security and Defense Council was about strengthening Ukraine's spiritual independence. Sanctions have been imposed against 22 high-ranking officials of the Russian Church. According to the president, under the guise of spirituality, they support terror and genocidal policy. According to the media, 21 of them belong to the Russian Orthodox Church. Poland announced that it will send to Berlin an official request for permission to send Leopard tanks to Ukraine, reports Espresso TV. Polish Foreign Minister Zbigniew Rau said that now Warsaw is planning to form a coalition of partners to provide a larger tank unit to Ukraine that will make a difference on the battlefield. He added that Poland had promised tanks and it will provide them to Ukraine even if Germany does not approve. Leopard 2 is a main battle tank that is produced in Germany and thus countries that operate them need Berlin's approval to re-export. Estonia decided to hand over all available 155mm howitzers to Ukraine as part of its record military aid package announced last week, reports European Pravda. Estonian ambassador to Ukraine, Kaimo Kuusk, said that this way Estonia wants to set a precedent so that other countries will have no excuses why they cannot provide Ukraine with the necessary weapons to win the war. The full list of weapons includes dozens of howitzers, thousands of artillery shells, hundreds of M2 Carl Gustav anti-tank systems with ammunition, and support equipment for artillery units. The total amount of Estonian military aid to Ukraine has already exceeded 1% of Estonia's GDP. After this and recent decisions of Estonia to limit the number of Russian diplomats in the country, Russia has ordered Estonian ambassador to leave the country by February 7th and is also recalling its ambassador to Tallinn. In response, both Estonia and Latvia ordered Russian ambassadors to leave their countries. Turkey will host a large event dedicated to the anniversary of the start of the Russian-Ukrainian war in Istanbul on February 22nd, reports Interfax Ukraine. Head of the European Union delegation to Turkey, Nikolaus Meyer-Landrut, said representatives of Ukraine and Turkey will be invited to the event where geopolitical and economic consequences of the war will be discussed. The EU approved the seventh tranche of €500 million from the European Peace Fund, which is directed to military aid to Ukraine, reports European Pravda. Additional €45 million will be allocated for non-lethal equipment for an EU military training mission in Ukraine. Earlier, Hungary decided not to block this decision. Until now, Hungary, which itself does not provide Ukraine with any weapons, refrained from making decisions about the tranches of aid from the European Peace Fund. The Servant of the People faction in parliament plans to fire MP Pavlo Halimon from his position of deputy head of the faction after scandal with expensive real estate, reports Ukrainska Pravda. Head of the faction David Arahamia said that if an MP has a couple of extra million hryvnias, then he should help his country. Arahami also called on law enforcement agencies to start an investigation and give a legal assessment to these events. An investigation by Ukrainska Pravda found out that Pavlo Halimon purchased a luxurious estate in Kiev worth millions of hryvnias, registering it for another person, all during the full-fledged Russian invasion. Deputy head of the Office of the President Kyrylo Tymoshenko has written a resignation letter, reports Ukrainska Pravda. According to the media sources, instead of Tymoshenko, head of the military administration of the Kyiv region Alexei Kuleba may be appointed. It is also expected that heads of military administrations of Sumy, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhia and Kherson regions will be dismissed as well, as they are close to Tymoshenko. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.